Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode 12 of the Roofball Federation of America podcast. That's kind of 12. Some people would say that's a 3 or a 7. I don't know what Adam's doing there. For our listeners and not video watchers, that was just terrible intro. But today's episode, we have a pretty cool a guest for a variety of reasons. It's Coach Doug's, formerly from BarstoolSports.com. I don't know if I have to say .com. I guess Barstool Sports. He was early in the scheme of things from after it took off, an early positive
early
fan.
adopter.
Yeah. To my knowledge, has never actually played the game, but has made a trip and very crucial in the Barstool Sports documentary about the game and you. So he has a lot of good info, a lot of like background on how he kind of got involved. But we go past just Roofball in general, and talk a little bit about his career, what he was doing before Barstool, how he got involved in Barstool, and a little bit of what he's up to nowadays, or what he will be up to shortly. And some of that involves Roofball. So it's all pretty cool. We'll talk about a variety of things there. I'm going to totally sidetrack this intro now and say, because of the magic of filming, today is actually MLB's opening day. Not the 2 games in Korea opening day, but the real in the United States opening day, where all the teams were playing. That's why I'm wearing my Dodger hat. This hat is special, and I wore it just for you, Adam, because this hat is the hat that you get when you go to the World Series. This is the 2018 version,
All right.
where they lost to your team.
They sure did. Yeah, that was a good year.
Yeah, so I knew we were having you on it. That's why I wore it. And it's still got the stickers and everything on it, as my wife commented on earlier. Usually I don't do that, but I don't wear this hat ever. So it hangs up, so the stickers are still on it. But
that was a significant curveball right there.
Yeah. Yes. Now that we got that out of the way, and by the way, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and Ohtani had quite the day today. So 159 more games of that this year, and then we'll see how October rolls around. But anyway, here we are talking about Coach Doug's. So a couple of things we spoke to him about, and some of the questions and stuff really have to do with taking Roofball to the next level, which, with his help and without his help, there's a lot of work that needs to be done to get to where we think it needs to be. And a lot of that is in the form of investment and fundraising, and putting on what our spectators have come to expect out of us now. And it's really kind of centered around what we've already talked about a little bit, ESPN Ocho, right? And so we know that that's coming up later this year in August. But the stuff that we need to do to get there, it's not going to be live in August on the Ocho. It's going to be a pared down, edited version of a previous tournament. Well, that tournament's coming up, so we need to make sure we have everything ready. And Adam, I know you've done a lot of the legwork on that. Do you want to walk us through some details on how that's progressing?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing to note, we did really well last year in terms of paying off our expenses. We weren't in the black, but we were a lot closer than we thought. And that's huge. But as you want to enhance the quality and the breadth of this thing, obviously you need more money to fund everything, and not force either of us to mortgage our houses, at least not yet. And so, yeah, we put a sales deck together. We're looking for sponsorship, and there's sales points all the way from $25,000 down to below $400. And we're just looking to put logos on the air, talk about your company or whatever your pet project is, and help us get to that goal of, I think if we had a $50,000 budget this year, we'd pay for just about everything we want to do, which is pretty cool. And then be able to start thinking about even more stuff to do. And we're maybe a fifth of the way there, maybe not even that. So every little bit matters. And I'd love to this year. We asked for donations, just flat out cash, a lot last year. And this year I would love to move more into definitively getting something for your money. Now, look, you want to send us money, send Roofball money, we'll take it and spend it happily. But if you got a product, you got a business, you're a musician, you're an actor trying to get your name, whatever it is, we got some kind of price level for you. And obviously the biggest shiny object right now is we have some advertising that we get to use for the Ocho itself on ESPN2. We have some 30-second spots, and we have the ability to put up sponsor names as sponsored elements within the body of the show itself. So if you want the throw of the tournament sponsored by you, that's available. So a lot of different options and a lot of cool things, because the one thing is to get your name out there and all that. That's good, but it's also just cool. Part of the reason we're doing the Ocho is because it's cool for Roofball to be on the Ocho. So
Yeah,
the same
totally.
thing would apply for any kind of sponsor. You want to see your logo, you're watching ESPN2 at whatever time this thing's going to be on, and hey, there you are. So
Yep.
all those things are available.
Yeah. So, in addition to that, if you have other ideas or thoughts on how you would like to help out or contribute or partner, please just let us know. And Adam, how can they let us know?
Roofball.org, they got a contact us section right there at the bottom of the front page. I usually get to those emails about 10 to 15 seconds after they arrive, and pretty quickly respond to those things, especially if there's something like, hey, thinking about partnering with you in some aspect. Believe me, you'll hear back quick.
Excellent. All right. Anything else we want to chat about before we get to Coach Doug's?
Well, I just want to say how important Doug's was in the early going to really pushing us forward and making it feel like, okay, the snowball's kind of rolling down the hill here a little bit. People are in fact noticing, because when you get what we did, a few, whatever, hundreds of thousands of Reddit clicks, hundreds of thousands of YouTube clicks, it's really tough to know what that means, because you don't know
Right.
if that's really penetrating people's brains or if it's just people watching for 8 seconds and going away. And so when somebody of the standing of someone that worked for Barstool took a look at what we were doing and said, I want to get involved in that. I want to talk about that. And first of all, gave me what was my first significant media appearance period, when he did the podcast with me. But then after that, coming out here, bringing a photographer, making a story out of it, it just made everything feel real. And obviously it flat out gave us publicity, which is nice, but almost more importantly, it made us feel like this was something that could keep growing. So it's difficult to overestimate what he meant in those first few months after we started to become noticed on a larger scale.
Yeah, and I mean that led to other things even last year, right? Like the U.S. Open was then presented by Barstool and stuff. Without Doug's, probably doesn't get there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So extremely important. We have it was a nice long conversation. And again, it goes beyond just Roofball. We're going to learn a lot about him, his past, present, and future. So hope you enjoy. Go Dodgers. Our guest today, Colin McClough, but everybody else probably knows him better as Coach Doug's. At least I sure do. Coach Doug's, how are you doing today?
I'm very well. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Hey, our pleasure. We appreciate a lot of what you've done for us, and I know we'll talk about that as we go. But before we get to Roofball, I did want to kind of go over that. Like, how did the alter ego of Coach Doug's come about?
Yeah, so it all started to COVID. Shout out COVID. It's one of those. It's a weird thing where it's obviously it was a terrible thing. Nobody ever wants to go through it again. My quarantine was pretty sweet. I had a pretty good time during quarantine. So COVID happened, shut down all the sports. I was living in Jacksonville, doing comedy, the Comedy Zone, just trying to make social media videos and stuff, just trying to have fun. Nobody was doing anything. Everything was shut down. And I was following Big Cat at Barstool Sports. He started playing NCAA football, the college football video game. He made a fictional coach on the video game. He pretty much just set the hair level to minimum, the weight level to maximum, put some glasses on there. Eventually, he started streaming those games on Twitch, and he took the coach in dynasty mode to FSU, which is where I actually went to school. And so once he went to FSU, I'm like, wait a minute, that kind of looks like me on college game days. So I just threw on a polo. I threw on my polo. I had already had all the gear and everything, put on the polo and everything, shaved my beard, took a picture, and basically just tweeted out saying, hey, Big Cat, identity theft isn't a joke. Like I'm the real Coach Doug's, and basically it was a perfect internet story. Everyone said, all right, yeah, this is the real Coach Doug's. He's the real life personification of Coach Doug's, and so Big Cat went with it. Everyone at Barstool went with it, and the school started going with it. So as Coach Doug's in the video game would go to Tennessee and USC and Texas Tech and Toledo, the schools were sending me gear to wear. So every other week I'm getting a big box in the mail of, full of merchandise of, athletic coach stuff to wear to make videos for. And, basically that lasted for about 6 months through quarantine. I was just making videos as this fictional coach and having fun. And after about 6 months of that, Barstool asked, if I wanted to come on full time, and I did for a few years, and it was a really fun time.
So have you ever coached anything? Were you a football player?
No, I played football in high school. I played rugby in college. And when I say I played rugby, I was on the club team. So basically, if you pay your dues, you're on the team. I was on the developmental side. I played whenever we'd go to tournaments. I was on the C team, and I would play the old guys who were local to wherever we were. It was a lot of fun though. But yeah, that's pretty much the extent of my athletic prowess right there. So no, I was doing comedy. The Comedy Zone here in Jacksonville got shut down. I just like making funny videos, and it was a good opportunity that way.
So, Coach, in terms of how you actually got on full time with Barstool, how'd that conversation go? How did it become determined? And was it Big Cat that hired you?
So the Barstool was purchased, I think, right at the beginning of COVID. Actually, it was during the Super Bowl, so it might have been January, February of that year. Barstool was acquired by Penn Gaming, and so when Penn purchased Barstool, they were just hiring a lot of people to do a lot of different things. They brought in especially people for betting, for gambling stuff, which I had not I had the slightest clue of what plus 100 meant, odds, all that stuff.
What they all say.
So
Coach.
I looked into it. I was like, if there is an opportunity down the road where I could work for Barstool, I should probably know how to do this stuff. So I learned all the lingo and the jargon and everything. I'm not a good gambler. I don't think anybody really is. I think for the most part, it's a lose-lose situation, but you have a lot of fun doing it. But yeah, so Penn purchased Barstool in January, and I think it was more of a Penn decision. I was doing content for Barstool. But it was Dave that gave the go ahead. He DM'd me probably about 6 months in and said, "Hey, if you do come on board, what would you want to do?" And I mentioned a few things that I was interested in, that actually was something that I was passionate about, that I feel like I could do at Barstool. And one of those things was find weird, random, fun, minor sports that are something you would find on ESPN 8 The Ocho, and actually document those and do content around those. And so that was actually one of the things I was really happy about doing while I was at Barstool. Was I was lucky enough to find Roofball. So yeah, I actually quit. I was working at Deutsche Bank, and I made a video on a random night, and I gave my 2 weeks notice to Deutsche Bank via Twitter. I said because at the time, short story, there was a stock advisor at DB that was basically downplaying Penn Gaming, saying, "Hey, it might be hot right now, but it's not going to be hot for long." And he did that for basically 4 quarters in a row. He was wrong 4 times in a row. And Dave finally said, "How many times in a row can you be wrong and still be good at your job?" So I made a little video saying, I can't work for DB because they're disparaging Dave Portnoy, and I can't be a part of that. And I gave my 2 weeks. That night, Dave sent me a DM and said, "All right, you're hired," which was really good, because the next day I met with my manager, and he pulled me in. He goes, "Are you quitting?" And I was like, "How did you know?" He goes, "Well, one of our directors has been following you on Twitter." And so my director at DB knew I was quitting before my manager did, because he was following me on Twitter.
That's good. So you got the job at Barstool. You're making content, as you mentioned. You're looking for oddities, whatever you want to call them, not the most mainstream kind of sports. So how did you find out about Roofball?
I think it's one of two things that came together at the right time. I think a lot of people found Roofball. The YouTube, I don't know what it was, but YouTube was pumping out the 2008 championship game. because when I found it, it had a lot of views on it, and I can't remember exactly. I think it literally popped up on my YouTube page. So I'll say YouTube helped for sure, but also I think it was my algorithm. Like, it's the internet knows that I'm looking for that kind of stuff and that I'm going to share that kind of stuff. And so I think it was YouTube was pumping it out, but also YouTube saw me and said he would like this, and they were right.
When you first saw it, like what did you like about it? What did you find it interesting? Were you chuckling? I mean, what was the reaction?
Yeah, well, the first thing was I want to play this game. Like, I want to hang out with these guys. These guys are obviously cool. Like, they're out throwing the football on the roof, which is something, I think most kids did or most people did as children. If you had the opportunity, if you had a football on a roof, you were throwing it up there. But yeah, I really just wanted to hang out. I wanted to play the game. I wanted to know more about it. And especially because it was very clear there was the 2008 championships, but I'm watching it in 2023, I think. And so I really wanted to know what's going on. How come I'm just now seeing this?
Well, so then we have what I assume was the best interview of your career when I was on with you. And then you get you get the invite to come out to Beaverton for the World Championships. Tell us about the process of getting approval to come out to do that, why it was such an important thing for you to do that, and getting Michelangelo and dragging him out, and the whole process leading up to the championships.
Yeah, and so thankfully, again, with Barstool, it's pretty much, hey, there's guys throwing a football on a roof in Beaverton, Oregon. Can I fly out there with the camera guy and document it? And thankfully, they had shown your video on the Yak, so it wasn't just me throwing out a random thing. Everyone in the office was talking about it, and so I think for them it was a pretty easy decision. Like, yeah, you can go out and document Roofball for sure. And so that's one of the great things about Barstool is they'll go for it. And so it was a pretty simple process there.
I got to tell you, even a year later, the idea that the offices of Barstool were abuzz with Roofball talk is it's still hard for me to even fathom that something like that was going on. But so now you come out, tell us about your experiences day of.
Yeah, and so I had a great time. We showed up in Beaverton, Oregon. It was the first time I'd been past Texas.
Wow.
So it was my first trip out west. I enjoyed every minute of it. And I'll break it down really. Getting there in the morning and seeing the setup, seeing you pull out the tables, your mom and your stepdad were there, getting everything ready. I even talked to Michelangelo about it. I'm pretty sure he got some video from it. It felt like I showed up like while the gates were still being opened at the ballpark. Like the concessions, like people are they're starting to pop the popcorn at the concession stand. They're hanging up jerseys to sell in the store. I felt like I had got there, or while the grounds crew is still figuring everything out before the game. And so that was really cool to get there early, and then just to see everything come together. Everyone coming out, neighbors stopping by saying, "Oh, are y'all playing today?" And just different people stopping by and hearing all the old stories of, yeah, we had to hide a keg in that park because somebody's wife was coming home, and then again, everyone's just hanging out there having a good time because y'all guys put this little game together where we're going to throw a football on a roof. So meeting everyone, and again, I think that's probably the answer for most of these crazy sport games. It is the personalities. It is the people that you meet, because the games can change, the rules can be different here and there, but it's really the personalities. It's the people that you meet, the characters, the crazy people, the sweet people, I don't know what they're talking about people, and so everybody coming together, but it's all around this one fun game. I think we had a great time.
I think all those people were my mom.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And she had to mention to us multiple times that she was not dead.
It comes up a lot during that tournament specifically.
So Coach, why didn't you play? Is this going to be like Nikki was with the U.S. Open? Is because I never invited you to, or did you decide that you weren't going to go and throw that day?
No, and so that was really my first time going out and trying to, because for me that was the first time I went out to actually try and document one of these cool sports, and it was kind of like I guess what's the guy's name? Attenborough, I guess. It
Oh,
was kind of like a nature documentary and trying to go out and saying like, all right, like I want to see these guys in action. I want to see what it's all about, and I want to document it, but I don't want to interfere. And so, but of course, I want to play the game. You know what I mean? So it was a real toss up between I want to tell a great story and I want to get everyone's input, or hey, do I want to go compete and do I want to do I want it to be Doug's story of how Doug's competed in the Roofball tournament? And I decided on the former. Maybe later we can make the latter happen, but I think that was my big conundrum was is it the story, are they the story, and I want to tell that, or do I want to compete? It was a tough decision.
Did you get a couple throws in though on the side?
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
there you
While
go.
we were warming up, yeah, before the crowds came, I threw a few up there.
Excellent. So you watched it on YouTube, I'm assuming more than once, over the time. When you arrived there and saw the game actually being played, what was it different? Was it exactly what you expected? What was that like?
Unfortunately, one of the major aspects of the game was not there. The car was missing, and it was again one of those. It was one of those situations where I completely understood why there was no car. Obviously, it's a health hazard, and if there's rust and there's sharp objects, and I can understand the decision they made. At the same time, I would be totally fine to sign a waiver, to release all liability and everything. So that was one of the big differences. There used to be the car in the driveway. Other than that, though, it is exactly what I had hoped for. It's exactly. I mean, it's the house. It's the same house. It's not like we showed up to a different field. It's like no. This is the Roofball roof.
well, we had one player do really well that day. How impressed were you by our champion's performance?
I thought he did very well. He was kind enough to allow me to smoke a little victory cigar with him at the end. So I appreciated. I didn't compete, but I did feel part of it when I was there with that.
Well, I
So
can
as a
tell you.
viewer, did you get a chance to watch the tournament the Yak did, and did you get the chance to watch the U.S. Open eventually as well?
So I did see the Yak. I didn't know about that at all. Frank and I think we were coming back, and this is another Barstool thing where it's like there's so many pieces moving. And I told Frank this at the end of COVID when we were both at Barstool. I said, "There's going to come a time where there's so many sports happening, we are going to miss a lot of it. But I mean, we're going to get to a lot of it, but we're going to miss so much." And that was one of those situations. I think Frank and I were coming back from the College World Series. We drove out to Omaha. And so we're driving back to Jersey, and I turn on we're watching it in the car. And it's like, wait, the Yak is playing Roofball today in Jersey? Like, what's going on? I did get to see that. I saw Jerry freaking out. I knew there was some people were claiming that really Jersey Jerry won and Stephen Che didn't win. But yeah, so I did catch some of that.
Yeah, there was some arguments there during the match, but we were proud to send Adam out there and to win it overall anyway. So it was fun.
Right back there.
What I will say, going back to the 2023 World Championships, I'm just going to carry a cigar on me from now on, and then anytime I win, I'll bust it out in your honor there, Doug.
I appreciate that. That was one of the few things that I was trying to really push at Barstool, and I was hoping it would come to pass. Maybe they can still do it. I thought a Barstool victory cigar would be a big deal, and I thought that would be something I could take out to all these different competitions. And so no matter what crazy sport it was, we'd have a little victory cigar for every winner.
I like it. I'm down with it. So as you mentioned, you and Barstool parted ways. What are you up to nowadays?
So I'll preface this by saying I am so glad I got the opportunity to be with Barstool and be up in New York and New Jersey and just get that whole experience. With that being said, I am back in the wonderful state of Florida. I'm having a great time. I'm back home in Jacksonville, and I'm eating barbecue. I'm hanging out with friends. And I'm doing what I want to do. I work at a sports card shop, sort of.
Wow.
I don't really have any hours, but I go up there and I make videos for them. I help them out with their social media and just really, whatever they need. It was an opportunity that came up when I moved back. It was kind of like, all right, well, what do I want to do now? I'm in a good position. I've made some good financial decisions over the last, 5 or 10 years with real estate. And so it's something I'm not really desperate to do anything. And so I'm not going to jump into anything I don't want to do. So I was kind of hanging out at this card shop, just, twiddle my thumbs, till I figure out what I want to do. And they were like, hey, you spend a lot of time up here. Would you like to help us out with our social media? And I said, sure. So I've been doing that for a few months and, just hanging out, waiting for my next adventure.
Well, I have no doubt that this is the big question then on every Roofball Nation member's minds. As a real estate mogul in an area that has not yet had a Roofball regional, do you got a roof?
We absolutely have a roof now. I will say this: I'm in a duplex.
All right.
So I have a pretty big roof. I will have to see. I don't know. Have you ever dealt with that before? We might have to put a net up on one side, or maybe we invite the neighbors in.
Yeah, I mean, either way works. Yeah, I mean, the bottom line, my thing has always been, if you can play baseball at Fenway and in Tampa, you can play roofball on just about any kind of roof. You just got to have a target and stick it up there. So you send me pictures, we'll make it work.
Absolutely, we can definitely get that going. In fact, well, we'll see. I do have a beach house. Have we ever done roofball at a beach?
You're speaking my language, oh my friend. Not yet. Let's do it.
All right. We'll see. There's right now it's in the family. If it's still in the family in a few months, we can get on that.
That would be fantastic.
I'm down for that one. That one sounds fun.
Well, Coach, as we begin to sign off here, just from me personally, there had been a couple of people that had called about interviews. I did an interview with some college students in Minnesota, and a small TV station in West Virginia wanted to talk to my mom and me. But it really wasn't real until I got messages from you. And I think that you found Travis Demers, who found me. And so the fact that it had gone through this very professional channel, and then I was talking to a guy from Barstool Sports, that just meant the world to me. And you were so good with me in that interview. I was not the incredibly slick media star that you see before you today. That really helped out, and I could feel your enthusiasm and friendliness for the sport. And so that gave me probably the biggest energy boost I'd had up to that point to work at it and make it big and feel like that this was a thing that could be real because you were interested. So I really appreciate you being an early adopter and everything you did for the sport thereafter.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that. That means a lot to me for sure. Like most things, I got really lucky, and the YouTube algorithm pushed it to me, and I was in a position where I was able to do that. So I'm glad that I was able to call you. I'm glad that y'all were willing to answer.
Yeah, I'll double what Adam said. I still have the text messages when you first reached out to him, how excited he was, and there was a lot of high points for Adam right around that time, and that's definitely one of them.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. I know that's again just one of the reasons why finding these silly sports, that just everyone having fun, and it's silly in the sense that everyone's a kid, but we take it seriously, and that's what's really important.
That's the fun of it.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, again, really appreciate you coming on today, and thanks again for everything you've done for the Roofball Federation of America. I'll let Adam say any additional thanks, but really appreciate the whole caboodle.
Where can everyone find you on social media, Coach?
So on Twitter at Coach Doug's, on Instagram, somebody got to it before I could, on Instagram at the Coach Doug's.
There you go.
And yeah, just you can follow me there. I got some big plans coming up in maybe the next 6 months or so.
Nice.
Looking forward to it. All right, everybody. That was our most recent episode. We'll talk to you all soon. Thank you.